Welcome to Fireside Rangers, and what a big victory. Game one of the Eastern Conference Finals, and the Rangers come out on top of the Tampa Bay Lightning. Huge victory here. Moving on from the last series versus the Hurricanes and going into this one, the big story was Vasilevsky versus Igor Shesterkin. And after game one, Igor comes out on top. What a beastly performance he had. Of course, this is a huge win, and it means a whole lot for going forward here as we continue to compete for the Stanley Cup Finals. But the kid line also dominated tonight. Everybody showed up. It was basically a perfect performance by the Rangers. And I'm joined by my co-host, Eric Wilson, today. You can follow him on Twitter at Fireside Rangers. Eric, how are you feeling after this big game one victory? And what are your thoughts on the kid line, Igor, and the rest of the beastly Rangers tonight?
Honestly, Anthony, I couldn't be feeling better after this game one. I can't lie, I was a little bit skeptical going into this game, going against the back-to-back Stanley Cup champions. But man, the way that we played tonight, I can't see why we're not gonna make it to the Stanley Cup Finals. Obviously we're going against the greatest team in the world right now. The Lightning have won back-to-back cups. They have players like Kucherov, Stamkos, Hedman, Vasilevsky, and everyone always said this was going to be a battle of the goaltenders. We have on the Lightning Andrei Vasilevsky, the greatest goaltender in the world, and then on our side, the Ranger side, Igor Shesterkin, who is arguably competing against him to be the best goaltender in the world. But then we look at the game tonight, right? And we've got a 949 save percentage from Shesterkin and only just a 777 from Vasilevsky. So it you could blame this on multiple things, right? You could say that Vasilevsky's getting older. You could also say that they had 9 days off because they did. They swept the Florida Panthers in round two. So they had a long time off while the Rangers progressed through round two, going to game seven against Carolina. But at the end of the day, we're all in the Eastern Conference Finals. It was just Shesterkin versus Vasilevsky, and Shesterkin came on top. Obviously, offense and defense came into play, but this is the battle of the goaltenders. And Shesterkin came on top today. The question is, can he do it for the rest of the series? So I guess we'll have to see how that goes.
Yeah, again, that was the storyline heading into the series. It was the greatest goalkeeper in the world, Vasilevsky, versus, number two, right there, right on his heels, Shesterkin. And Shesterkin, as you mentioned, with a 949 save percentage in this game, just an utter dominant performance. And you take a look at the Rangers going into this game, no one expected them to put up 6 goals on Vasilevsky in game one. No one expected that. Like we said, he is the best in the world. That was surprising and shocking and exciting. It's exactly what they needed. The kid line went out there, they did their thing. Everybody else, really from top to bottom, the Rangers came out to play. They performed. You had a bunch of great performances, and they really showed who's boss here in game one of the Eastern Conference Finals. And they kind of took Vasilevsky by surprise, I think. Early on in the game, it seemed like it was going to be a shootout. It was really fast paced. At a time, it was 2-2, then 2-3. It was really fast paced. The scoring just kind of became an onslaught for both teams at a point. But then everything just stalled out for the Lightning, and the Rangers were able to just take over and really just take advantage of a poor game from Vasilevsky. As you mentioned, they had a long break, 9 days after the sweep. But with the Rangers kind of just being fresh, coming off of that Game 7 victory, they hit the ground running in this one, and that's exactly what you love to see. But again, moving on from the goalkeeper discussion, let's go ahead and take a look at that kid line. We got to talk about them. They really came out to play. Eric, I know you love yourself the kid line, so let me hear what you got to say.
I do. I won't lie, Anthony. I do love the kid line with all my heart. I've been here since the day that they were all drafted. We got Philip Hedl, number 72, Alexi Lafreniere, number 13, and Cabo Caco, number 24. And especially because Lafreniere was drafted first overall in 2020. Cabo Caco was drafted second overall in 2019. So they were like back to back. And, we received a lot of hate for drafting them. A lot of people thought they were going to be busts or they wouldn't like pan out as we wanted them to as we were in the middle of a rebuild. But the way that I'm watching them play within these playoffs, it's perfect. They are the most contributing line that we have out there right now. The reason that most teams don't make it far in the Stanley Cup playoffs is because they have their superstars They have those like top 6 forwards, but they don't have the depth. So the fact that we can have like our big guns out there like Zibanejad and Panarin scoring these goals when we need them to, but then also having these young teenagers like Lafreniere, Hedel, and Kako, that's the reason that we've made it this far, and that's the reason that we're putting up a fight against the back-to-back Stanley Cup champions like the Tampa Bay Lightning. And tonight, they've fully exemplified everything that I'm saying. Philip Hedel got 2 goals. His first goal was assisted by Lafreniere and Kako. The entire line contributed to that. The second goal that Hedel scored was first assisted by Keandre Miller, a defenseman who was also only like 20 or 21. I'm sorry, I don't know his exact age. And then the secondary assist came from Lafreniere, who is 20. So the fact that the young guns are coming out strong this late into the playoffs shows immense, like, what's the word? Like
Potential. I'd say potential for the future.
potential, and like
Potential
hope for the
right now.
future.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you're seeing plenty of potential coming to fruition right now in these Eastern Conference Finals, especially as I mean, the Rangers have been the underdogs the entire playoffs. The whole
Oh, yes,
postseason, they have been the underdogs, and somehow, some way, Game 7 victory. Now here they are against the reigning world champions, and Game 1, they kind of blew them out. So here they are, the
exactly.
underdogs, really taking the
And
world by storm, and a lot of that does have to do with the youth that the Rangers have on this team. You take a look at the kid line. I mean, the potential is already starting to be realized, but these guys are so young. That's why they're called the kid line. So if they're able to get all this experience under the belt, whether we make it to the Stanley Cup finals or not, and if we win, thank God, I mean, that would be phenomenal. But you're talking about potentially building a world class team for years to come with the kid line being the leaders of this roster. So, yeah, I'm seeing all the potential in the world and I'm loving it.
exactly. And Anthony, what I'll say is, at the beginning of this season, thinking about like how the season would go, I always said I just wanted to make the playoffs. We had a lot of young guys on the team, but you can't go all the way with a bunch of rookies. You need to get to the playoffs, build up that playoff experience because obviously the playoffs are a different game than the regular season. So my goal was make the playoffs, maybe win a round, and then go home and then get ready for next season. But then we were down 3-1 against Pittsburgh, and we came back. And then we faced the best team in the Eastern Conference, the Carolina Hurricanes, and we were down by 2, and we came back and won that series. And then now here we are against the Tampa Bay Lightning, the back-to-back Stanley Cup champions, and we dominated them in game 1. I think that the New York Rangers right now, as we are, have what it takes to win the Stanley Cup. I'm done thinking that we're just a young team that just needs experience. I think we've already gained that experience through this year. And honestly, over there in the West, it's it's Colorado versus Edmonton. Connor McDavid versus Nathan McKinnon. But I don't even care about that because I truly believe that no matter who wins this Eastern Conference Final Series, they will be the ones to win the cup. So if we continue this fantastic play that we showed in game 1, the New York Rangers can win the cup. That's all I'm saying.
I absolutely agree. I think all the potential is there. The young guys have already came to play. As you mentioned, going into the season and especially going into this postseason, everybody counted out the Rangers because they're a young team. You don't really expect them to make it, a young team like this to make it this far into the playoffs. But here they are again, as we mentioned, against the reigning world champions, game 1 domination, the kid line, those young guys had everything to do with that. But also take a look at the veteran players as well. It's not all the kid line. The kid line isn't everything. Take a look at Panarin with 1 goal and 1 assist, 2 points in the game. And you take a look at Casey Kreider backing up a phenomenal Game 7 performance with another goal tonight. And of course, we got to talk about our main man, Zibanejad, with 10 points in 6 games. He is on a tear. He has been killing it for the Rangers. I know you're super excited to talk about him. Eric, go ahead and let me hear what you got to say.
Yeah, I mean, Zibanejad, he's been tearing it up. Obviously, during the first round against Pittsburgh, yeah, he didn't show up that much. Um, he was kind of absent in the series, but ever since we made it to the second round against Carolina, I guess that like sense of urgency really just like kicked in for him. and he started putting up goals, he started putting up assists, and then now here he is in his last 6 games. Mika Zibanejad has 10 points. He's been almost a 2 point per game player, and if this continues throughout the rest of the playoffs, I could honestly see him becoming a Conn Smythe like sleeper finalist for MVP of the playoffs. For those who don't know, that's also assuming we make it that far. First we have to overcome the Tampa Bay Lightning, but as you all know by now, I am confident in that. Um, and then you like look at other players by Panarin. Even Panarin's been sleeping a little bit in that second round against Carolina, but he came out strong tonight with 2 points. This is definitely a new series. The Rangers definitely understand the stakes that are at hand. We know that we're playing against the best team in the league for the last 2 to 3 years. They would be going for their four-peat if it wasn't for Columbus and Panarin on the team at that time before he came to the Rangers. Um, but yeah, no, the Lightning are definitely the team to beat. They are dangerous, they are fast, they are skilled, and it's going to take everything that we have to beat them. Game one, we cannot get too ahead of ourselves. We have to go into game two with the same mindset that we had tonight. They are the best team in the league. And if we let up any little bit of energy, they will capitalize on it and they will beat us. So that is why we have to stay strong mentally and physically if we want to move on to the Stanley Cup final.
Yeah, absolutely. And it can't just be all the kid line either. The veterans, I mean, they came to play today, but as you mentioned, Panarin had some games where he kind of fell asleep. Kreider also had a few slow games in the previous rounds. Everyone needs to be on their A game throughout this entire series. You can't have anybody falling asleep at any point. And especially kid line, we're mentioning it. They're young, they're inexperienced, that they've never been to this level before. So we might have a moment where the kid line falls asleep. And that's when the veterans need to come to play. As we saw, Panarin has that ability. I mean, game seven, we saw him dominate. Kreider as well. We've seen these guys show up in the biggest of moments. And if we get to those moments again in the series, which is very possible, look, I don't think we're sweeping the Lightning in any world. This is going to be a tough series. It is the Lightning, the reigning world champs. This is going to be a tough one. I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but with this statement performance in game one, it's looking really good for the Rangers right now. And as you mentioned, Zibanejad, 10.6 games, looking like he could potentially be playoff MVP. But again, can't get too far ahead of ourselves. We got to get through these games with the Lightning first, make our way to the Stanley Cup Finals, hopefully, and hopefully get that big trophy home. But go ahead, Eric.
Yeah, no, you're completely right. Obviously, we have a long series ahead of us. I honestly like, even if the Rangers were to win the Eastern Conference Finals, I don't see it being done unless it's in 6 or 7 games. The Lightning are a very strong team, and it's going to take a lot of work to get there. Um, and obviously, we dominated game one. There's no doubt about that. That's already in the past. The thing is to look forward to game two. It's another game at Madison Square Garden at home. But now the question is, how are the Lightning going to retaliate? They're obviously not going to play the same game structure as they did in game one. They're going to come out harder, faster, and stronger. And it's just like, are the Rangers going to be ready for that? You look at our defense, you have our first defensive pair with Adam Fox and Ryan Lindgren. Those are both amazing defensemen. Obviously, Adam Fox won the Norris Trophy for best defenseman in the league last year, and Ryan Lindgren has been like one of the most integral pieces of our defensive core this year. But then after that, you have Keandre Miller, Jacob Trouba, Braden Schneider, and honestly, I couldn't even tell you who our third pair right defenseman was right now because he keeps getting changed out so often, and that's what I'm nervous about. Tonight, we found a way to beat Andrei Vasilevsky 6 times. Are they going to let us do that again for the rest of the series? No, they're not. If we want to win this series, we have to strengthen our D core, strengthen our offense, and make this the most defensive series that the New York Rangers have ever played in the last decade. If we don't, then I do not think that we make the Stanley Cup Finals. but we have to have trust in Coach Gerard Gallant and hope that we can somehow pull this off. You know what? Our slogan for this entire playoffs has been "No quit in New York." We've been the underdogs. We've been down, but we've always come back and we've always won. So who's to say we can't do it one more time?
Absolutely. And I think that's a perfect way to wrap this one up, of course, with the underdog Rangers coming out on top in game one. Super excited. Make sure to leave a like if you're excited about the Rangers as well. And if you enjoyed this video, comment down below what you think the series is going to look like. How many games is it going? Who's coming out on top? Let us know down below. And of course, get hyped down in the comment section. Huge win. Subscribe if you're new to the channel, which most of you are. This is our first video. So you have to be new to the channel. But subscribe. Make sure you ring the bell so you don't miss a video, and stay tuned. We got plenty of great New York Rangers content coming to you, hopefully daily, as often as we can do it. We bleed blue here. We love our New York Rangers, so make sure to stay tuned to a ton of great content on this channel. Follow us on Twitter, and we'll see you in the next one. Have a good one, and let's go Rangers.
Let's go Rangers!